Okay, well, went ahead and kind of tackled the project a little bit. It's a little bit of a temporary mounting solution, which obviously most of you know is what that means, which is zip ties. But there's a bracket that came with it. I'm gonna look at that, figure out how I can mount it a little bit better. But for now, the zip ties are holding, so you can't already spot it. That's it right there. And then we'll go ahead and pull this off. I did make some changes. I pulled my catch can off and I didn't really find too much in there. It looked like there was some moisture. There was a little bit of oil, but it's nothing crazy. And it's taking up a lot of real estate, so I pulled that off. But I had the seat on here because I wanted to show that everything fits with the seat on still. So once you remove this, this is kind of the solution here. So bear with me. It might look a little jank right now, but the idea here is that obviously it's going to force a lot of air in. So the bracket that I was telling you about is right up here. Now this is from a second, is it a second gen? No, 2022, which I think technically is a second gen. But this is essentially the Snorkel, right? So in the first gen, the Snorkel usually sits here and it comes all the way up through here and gets air from over here. Obviously it doesn't really do anything. I'm not even sure why it even exists, but I went with this one specifically because this whole area here is open and as you can see it's pushing air into the filter itself, and then from there it actually has a bend in the neck already, which is down here. So this bend already existed, which is kind of what I was looking for to kick it out a little bit. And when I was looking at it, I actually widened this out with a little bit of heat. I could just some heat from a heat gun was enough to kind of give it a little more of a bell mouth, but this actually is directly in line with this area here. So I was messing around with my air blower that I have, and essentially this line right here with air going through here will force itself into here, and I can feel that from the top, and I even put some plastic on there just so I can see airflow. Now obviously I really have no way to calculate that while driving, so I guess I'll see based on AFRs if there's any difference. The unit itself down here, I did have to heat it up and do some bends. This is specifically because the frame bracket, it's kind of hard to see, but that frame bracket's kind of hard. So I had to heat it up in two spots. One was basically right about here, and then I bent this front part here downward a little bit, and then another part was here, which I also bent downward as well. That will still allow for a more upward angle to kind of go up and over this bracket, and then have it line up nicely on here. As you can see, it is zip ties, but it is very firm. I don't know if you can see that, but it shakes the whole bike. So I'm pretty confident in that. I did change my hose back to where it's just pulling straight off of the crank case for ventilation. But I do see possibly, an option to hard mount it here to here. So I'm going to look at that option and I'll probably see what I can do for that. I don't even technically need this zip tie down here. It's not even really super tight, but I want to make sure that on both ends it's securely connected. So the goal is when riding, I'll just monitor AFRs and I'll see if there's a big difference, and hopefully have an idea or get a good grasp on whether or not it's actually forcing a decent amount of air in or not. Now, best case scenario, we get a healthy amount of air flowing towards it, which, you know, engines are an air pump, so they're only going to take up as much air as necessary. But I want to run this now, see what kind of differences there are, because obviously that big bore kit is going to come through pretty soon, and hopefully I'll get that installed. But that means there's going to be a greater demand for air, and hopefully create more suction because it's a bigger piston pulling down and helping to draw that air in. That being said, that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is that air coming in, right, travels in through here. It could travel at such a velocity that coming in through here, it could create turbulence within the filter itself. That would be bad, obviously, because you want as smooth of airflow and as smooth air track as possible. So we'll just have to see. I'm going to monitor air fuel ratios, and then I'll just look and see if the auto tuner is demanding more fuel or less fuel, which is a good way to kind of get an indication on whether or not it's actually showing any kind of improvement. And then obviously, you know, at some point, eventually, hopefully, one day decide to try to get this thing actually dynoed, if I can find one near me. But that's it. Short video. If you have questions, obviously let me know down below.